Let me move forward.
Do that again.
Way back here.
July. This is the Budget Conference Committee for H.493 FY26 budget. And we're going to hear if there's a proposal from the House. I think is how we're going to start this up.
Well, so before we start off with numbers, I just want to say sort of kind of how we're thinking about some of this, or at least I am, and I think my team may be, is that as we go forward, the way I'm thinking about this is we want to minimize additions to the base where we can, because we don't know what's going to happen in Washington. And then when we put things in the base, they tend to grow and it's hard to reduce the base. So just thinking about that as we go forward. For the same reason, minimize new programs, spending money on creating new things when we don't know what the cuts are going to be that are coming to us from Washington. We know, and the cuts from Washington also, so far they've been coming in sort of a piecemeal way. We've heard of a few things, but we know there's some big things that'll be coming down the pike and we don't know what they are. And I'm a little uncomfortable choosing to put money in places where the federal government has already cut when we don't know what all the shoes are that are going to drop. So doing it on a first come, first served basis and a piecemeal basis isn't the way I would prefer to do it. I'd prefer to sort of see what the landscape is, which is why one of the things I like about your closeout language and reserving some money for things it seems to make a lot of sense to me. So those are some of the things that I'm concerned about. FY27, I think, is going to be a really hard year. This year, tax returns are coming in well because FY24 was a good year. This year is not looking the same way. So I want to be careful about how we set ourselves up for next year too. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about as we're going through the budget.
If you watch anything that deals with purchases, purchase and use tax for the T fund is significantly off in March. The sales tax was significantly off. Those are consumer-based things
Right.
that are the here and now.
Right.
And they're showing weakness.
Mm-hmm. So I'm worried about those things. And so that makes me want to be careful about how we spend and what we choose to fund this year. There were a lot of new programs coming from various places that I would say that I have some questions about, or that we have some questions about too. So anyway, that's sort of setting the stage for what we're thinking about here. So to start off with maybe something easy, I guess we would propose that we could close the C and F sections, which were basically budget adjustment 2.0 that passed both of our bodies, our chambers. There might be a couple of little changes. I mean, there were some things that we didn't do. The GA program was out of there, but the sort of a clean version of what we passed there. It seems like that makes sense to just say okay to those two sections.
Wait, so you're suggesting closing out on the GA program?
No, it's section C and section F. Section F was budget adjustment 2.0.
Right.
And section C, I will get this wrong, was some things that were going to be in the budget anyway, that are all deal with FY25 that we had all seen before on a number of occasions. So it's not anything.
And they were in our version, in your version of the budget.
Right.
Other than technical changes, or like we took out the date extension that we had.
Yes. And some dates needed to be changed, like with the telephone tax and other, things like that to make it current. So those all seem to make sense to us. So
Yeah, no,
we'd propose closing those two sections out.
we can't argue with our own position, so that seems like.
So look, there we go. Now we just had B, D, and E.
That's like.
Oh, that the rest should be so easy, right? So looking at the base, two of the spreadsheets that had base things on them, and I made notes on a different base thing. It wasn't a bailout sheet. That's right. It was section 5. if we look at the base, the first two lines. Yeah,
On this sheet?
yes, on this sheet.
On the
So
full-
on the full base sheet, yeah. So lines 5 and 6, which are the position switches. We would accept those changes. It's revenue net neutral and just moving things around.
Yep, that's good.
That's fine. We also agree with line 10, in judiciary, B204, the tech fund revenue replacement. There was a sort of an error that happened as a result of budget adjustment on our end, and now we understand that it was removed in error. So that was a technical adjustment for the 2.16 million that should be in the base.
Good.
Uh,
Want to go down to 35?
I was just going to get out of 35.
Sorry,
Yep, no, that's good. So lines 35 and 36, that was the Medicare Savings Program, which we had at 145%. That I think AHS came to you and said the 150 is really where it needs to be, where there was administrative things. So that we'd be happy to support.
I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, so it's lines 35 and 36,
Quimby.
one of the B301s and the 309, yes, right. Quimby and NIMBY and lots of. So that's fine to do.
Maybe one of, what should be on here, in this. There was a difference.
Yeah.
I don't see the second. Maybe, oh no, it is. No.
Yeah, it's a 301,
Line 17,
The gray out sheet.
the 16 and 17 on your new sheet.
right. We've been looking at the other sheet, the base.
Isn't it 301 and 15?
17 and 18.
15, 16, 17, and 18 are all.
That are all part of. Four in a
Right.
row.
There you go. What do you think? Not bad, huh?
Your turn.
It's accurate.
Yeah.
So, going back up to line, so which one are you using now? Are you using the gray out sheet?
I'm using the gray sheet, but we can use both.
All right, well, I'll just go back.
I've got both of them.
Okay. So going back up to B200 in the Attorney General's office, you have added funding for 2 positions. And we'd like to propose for one of the positions for the 80,000 for the home repair fraud coordinator. We know that returns a lot to Vermonters, something like $800,000 in the last year or two. So that seems like a really important position, and we've heard the success stories. So I think, but rather than make it a permanent exempt position, I think what we would like to propose is extending the, I think it's a limited service position and extending it as a limited service position for now.
It wouldn't be base.
Well, it can be, I'm looking at JFO, it can be in the base, but still be a limited service position.
I think that'll be okay, but I'd like to leave it open just because I think there's another question about positions at Attorney General that I just kind of want to deal with them all at once, so dealing with the
Okay.
trial or
The pre-charge?
the pre-charge. So.
Yeah, and I don't, we're not feeling that we really need to have the other $150,000 position for Solicitor Generals. And again, in an effort to minimize new positions, if we had to pick one, what we're hearing is that the home repair fraud coordinators are really important. It exists now, and so it's not like adding a position, it's extending a current limited service position, and it's doing a lot of good.
And I think one of the things we could offer is to have that Solicitor General position be limited service for just 2 years. Right, but if you want to, we can leave it open. We can come
Yeah,
back.
I'd like to-
There's Other thing I might want to propose around
Okay.
the Attorney General.
Okay. Yeah,
And that ties into the pre-charge for Vermont.
right. And so we had it originally came in at around 1.6 way back. And Rep Squirrel, who has that in his budget portfolio, went and talked to the folks there and they said they could do the 1.1. And they could live with the 1.1. And then you all added 300,000. And which at the moment, we're not comfortable with. I understand that was to go to Lamoille and Franklin counties. Is that right? Do I have it right?
Extended across the state. There are 4 counties that do have the program.
Yeah.
Chittenden, Windsor, and there are a number of counties that are getting ready. I think Franklin and Lamoille are right in the front of that, but it is, if you don't extend this program, then they end up in court and they cost more money.
Yeah, no, I know the pre-charge was a high priority of our judiciary committee, and they were fine with the way we had done it in our, and sort of rolling it out more slowly.
That only.
It doesn't extend it across the state.
It doesn't.
Right.
Extend it. It only
Right.
keeps it in the rest.
Yeah, so we were trying to be, just for equity, try to get it to the whole state. And
Okay.
this doesn't get us the whole state, but because the 2 counties that have.
Better read.
Okay.
Okay,
If I may,
And the problem is that if you don't do it, they're gonna end up in court and cost more money.
and that's what's happening now. What we're trying to do is be also mindful. This wasn't in the governor's proposal at all. And in fact, there was some discussion that they opposed it. So we were trying to thread that needle in terms of trying to expand it somewhat. I'll be honest, I was one of the roadblocks on adding a new position at the AG's office for this. But we did it. So
This isn't positions in the AP's office. This is grants directly out.
I understand that, but we also have a new position for the AG's office for this.
Well,
Okay.
this
Yeah,
is,
but
this
okay.
is staying in place.
We'll come back with a full. On that.
Okay.
Can we ask you about the line above? The
Yes, we may.
line 8, B200? No, I'm sorry, line 7,
B 135.
135. What is that? Because we don't even have that bill or haven't had that bill.
S-125 hasn't gotten to your committee yet?
No, it may not.
Okay, yeah, it was a bill early on in the session. That passed through our committee that would add 2 positions to State
Right.
Labor Relations Board. That is something that I think we're willing to relook at, because
Yeah.
that was early on in the session. And I think given kind of your opening statement, it isn't something I think that is
Right,
urgently needed.
right. And so I think some are going to be harder than others, and this may be a little less difficult to, so we would propose eliminating.
I think we can agree to that, but
Okay.
our side hasn't had a chance to
Okay,
meet. We were
Okay.
gonna try to meet before this, so we didn't really have time, so I'm tentatively going to agree to that. but just wanna
Okay.
make Sure.
great. Thank you. Okay. Urban, so some questions here, I guess we have. Before we get to that, line 14B 208, the Office of the Defender General. Which is, I don't know what line it is on the other one.
14?
Yeah, it's training and IT costs.
Right.
And rent, 60,000 training, 58,000 for assigned council cost increase, so 118,000. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? That did not rise to the top of anything in any of our committees.
I know it's on
So-
the top of the Defender General's request. That's specifically the 60,000 for training. I think was taken away during COVID, if I remember, because they weren't doing in-person trainings, and he really feels it's necessary to get that. And he's asked for it last couple of years and hasn't gotten it, so he could have the in-person training back. So that was a high priority for the Defender General. And then, they use a lot of assigned counsel. If we want to have competent counsel, this was an increase that was necessary. I think there's some other Defender General costs somewhere else.
It's coming. I'm going to ask about those too.
Okay.
But could that 60,000 go to one time?
That's definitely an option, yeah.
And the assigned counsel, that's not positions, that's paying as contracts.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Like
we'll
when
have to
they're
check on that.
conflicted, they have to hire private.
Right. We can check with judiciary on. That part of the training could one time.
Yeah, what's the other Defender General you were gonna ask about? Maybe we could. Package,
Defender General. Was that maybe?
or maybe
one time?
we,
It was in one time. I'll tell you, there was a bunch of them in one time. There was, B 1100, CC1, CC2, CC3, IT server capacity for 30,000, Orleans staff office for 90,000, Addison County setup for 20,000.
what were the numbers?
They're-
The CC 1100,
11, yeah, line
CC1,
72.
2, and 3.
yeah.
If they're not in the gray out sheet because they're not different,
Use the spreadsheet for the one times.
this is all, you wouldn't have one times in the gray out sheet because you're doing it all, you have that separate kind of gray out sheet.
There's just a line in the graph sheet that says C one time sheet.
We could add them in, but it would be
Oh, yeah.
redundant.
Oh,
That's a.
it would be on, yeah, this is in section 4, right? And so this is
This-
71, 72, and 73.
71,
Those never came.
71 Spring Mountain.
Oh, sorry, did I get the number wrong?
72 to 70.
Oh, that's not what's on mine.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, 74 is Addison County. Right,
yeah, that's what I have.
that's
I don't. I have that as 73.
3.
Okay, got a.
We must have different
version.
sheets.
Orleans,
You
So-
have to throw me off.
So IT server capacity,
April 30th.
Orleans staff office, and it's in your book on.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
No, I'm finding I have to go use the book. So that's 140,000. But again, we never booked that.
Three of them.
The three of them.
You didn't hear about it from the Defender General?
Not that I recall.
To talk to Trevor, right? But we don't.
Did you have? the-
It didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we had them
did.
in, yeah. But none of it rose to high priority, given the limited amount of funds we had available and the volume of requests we had. As I've been saying to people, for every dollar of available funds for us to spend, there were $7 in requests. So there was a lot of saying no.
We went to each of
Judiciary.
our policy committees, Robin
Right.
did, and said, okay, you gave us a wish list of
Right.
20 items. Now
Right.
give us your top.
What's
couple.
the real ones you want? And none of this rose to the surface from any of the policy committees.
Yeah, the Defender General asked, we're on our Judiciary Committee's priority list, so I want to go back and see
Okay,
of these 4, let's say, or 5, the 2 base and the 3 one-times. Where those are is in order on priorities.
right.
Yeah.
We'll return with a Senate proposal.
Okay,
Defender General,
that would be great.
and as well as we'll return with a proposal on the Attorney General.
Okay.
There is one issue,
Mhm.
I don't want to jump into other
okay.
things, but that's not on here. But which normally we wouldn't take up, but I heard there was new information on, and that is with the Cannabis Control Board, that there was a position that I think both agreed with that I heard they don't need.
Oh, good. We did not put a position in for the Cannabis Control Board.
Okay,
You did.
okay. It wasn't,
We
but it's
didn't
not
in the
on,
bill?
because it's not on this. Did I agree there?
Did we get a spreadsheet for positions? Is there a spreadsheet in here for positions?
Yeah.
There should be. three.
Yeah. 11.
Here. Yeah, B240. That could be something we come back. I can double check on that.
But the House didn't have
Yeah,
it.
you didn't have it.
So I would have recommended not continuing with it. So
I'm doing your work for you.
thank you.
In our effort to look at positions, that was one that came,
Okay.
positions that.
We're missing, there's urgent. Okay. Oh, let's see. Yeah.
Can I ask something while we're on the position page? I think we both agreed on the transport deputies to take away the vacancy savings to fund them. But it was our understanding they had 4 existing personnel. They need 6. And they had, and 2 additional positions, but it looks like you added 2 more positions. And we're wondering why, if they already have the 6 that are necessary.
We were adding the 2 that were needed.
Well,
I'm thinking it may be double counting.
yeah, Trevor thought that there was already 2 vacant ones in there, plus 4 that were currently funded.
Right. It's
So
really under
he was
the
surprised to see
B205.
that. He
Yeah.
was surprised to see more
Right.
when we.
207 for the sheriffs.
Right. But the vacancy savings is in,
Both the state's attorneys and the sheriffs had almost the
Right.
same vacancies.
Right.
At 650. Or
Yeah,
300.
yeah. No, you're right.
was 650.
Yeah.
And I think we both agreed on those.
Yeah. And we both said like, this is how you can fund those positions.
Right,
Right.
Right. So we didn't add positions because the positions existed. 4 were filled and they needed to fill 2 more.
We can certainly double check.
Yeah, we
that.
can,
That wasn't.
yeah, that was,
Yeah.
it
I know,
Yeah.
it's kind of confusing.
could be that we agreed with them that they needed 2 additional, so we'll have to check.
Right, but I think they were 2 positions that existed that were vacant. And they weren't able to fill it because they had to use they couldn't use the vacancy save.
Okay.
So I think we may not need those. So Trevor's checking that out. And you'll
Okay.
follow up with Trevor on
Yeah.
that? Okay, that'd be great.
That's a 65, 650.
Yeah, that part's
Still
fine.
do that.
It's the 650 we all agree on.
Which part is it?
It's the 2 additional transport deputies that,
Who's on the sheet, number 11.
so we don't know if we're double counting that or not. That's what we need to figure out. So back on the base, we had kept the urban search and rescue in one time, and we've given them 475, 450 or 475. And you all gave them more and moved it to base. And I was thinking that this could be something that could stay in the one time. We're trying to make sure we aren't overusing the base.
Yeah, I mean, we felt that we're gonna have floods and that we wanted them prepared on an ongoing basis. I guess it's something to consider about is still getting the funds at one time, but we're trying to find a permanent home and know that they're gonna have the money for training going forward, but it's something that we can consider.
Yeah. Again, if this were a different year, I might not be having this conversation.
Where's that on?
It's on
211.
B211, line 21 or 11, depending upon.
21.
Right, depending on which spreadsheet you're looking at.
The one Jenny and I are using.
Yeah, so that's the one I've been using too. That's where all my notes are.
That side of the tape.
Yeah,
Okay.
And then.
we do agree though that it needs ongoing support.
Yes, we definitely agreed with it. It's just a matter of where it's located. And then, you put in 500,000 for nursing home incentives. That must be one time.
For the nursing.
It was.
Nursing home staff.
It was 500 one time last year,
Uh-huh.
and it's 500 again.
And what's it for? And do we know how?
I have about 2 pages of what the nursing homes use it for. It's used for recruitment of nurses. And our thinking is, and last year's thinking was, when we put it in the budget, that the real problem in nursing homes that has caused us over and over to come in with emergency aid is the fact that last year the study showed that $62 million out of the nursing homes was going for traveling nurses. So this is an attempt to help them do recruitment of full-time people to try to move away from traveling nurses. And the nursing homes were very supportive of it and have used the money to recruit people. So we're very happy to show you the sheets and show you what they've done.
Then we can show you the sheets. We thought it was an investment to lower our costs in the emergency relief that we keep having.
Yeah,
It certainly doesn't take many full-time nurses to make up the difference for a traveling nurse.
And do you have actual results? I mean, I know they're recruiting, but what are the results of doing all that? Do we have that information?
To produce the sheets I've got and where they are, what they've been doing. Some of it is that they've had success doing it and they're very high on this. The sheets talk a lot about what they've done. I think it's so new that because we did it last year, that it isn't really clear to me how much, but it is an effort that we have to do something because we can't have the nursing homes come back here with
$21 million of requests.
yes.
Which a lot of it is the travel. And then part of it is recruitment because some of the nurses will even become travelers just to make more money.
Sure. Okay. Well, if there's something you could just email us, that would be great to see because we never got that information.
I'm happy
Okay.
to get you.
Thank you. One of the other questions we had, which I was on a one time, is 780,000 for the small business technical exchange. That seems like it's a new program.
I think the program has run in the past. They've worked a lot with new Americans and very small businesses to get through the paperwork to start up new businesses. It was one of the highest priorities from our economic development committee they sent us. I don't know when it was last funded, so we can get you more information.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to find something about it here. There's a bill that's on 332, which has been sitting for 2 months in House Commerce. So we haven't seen it, whether there's some other one, but is there any language that says what the program is? So
What line is it?
I think it's one time. It is
45 on the one times.
What bill?
1100-02,
I think it was also in that, in the workforce development, S227. Is that what we have on?
127.
Is it 1.2? It's got a 27 in it.
I think it's 127.
Yeah.
The 127? Okay.
We can check with but that's a lot of money for potentially a new program that doesn't seem to have a lot of language to go with it. There's lots of nice programs that we could be doing. But I'm not sure whether this is the year.
It's not a
start
new
that.
program, but it might not have been funded last year.
Yeah. And if there's no
I don't know when.
language, you can't administer a program, so.
Yeah, I'll get you the language and look into it some more.
Okay. And it's a lot of money. That would be helpful to hear more about that. One of the other ones, the very first one, I think, or second one, under the one time, the Agency of Administration, the Ideal Vermont. Is this the one where you made a phone call about that?
And I
Jim? Do you
talked
wanna talk
to,
about
they
it?
said they had 7 communities, 7 municipalities using it. It's a volunteer program, well-intentioned. It provides, might provide some classes or training for municipalities that are looking at doing that. But we did it one time a couple years ago. And my impression talking to the league was they had, how many communities are participating? 7. Hard to justify in this era of budget to do it. It pays for, bringing in speakers or meeting rooms or what have you, all good. But, you were doing the same thing. We were shaving 20,000 off of some appropriations.
Sure.
So we couldn't justify it to ourselves. That's all.
I know it was in the governor's recommend.
I know.
We heard from the executive director of the Office of Racial Equity that it was an ongoing program that seemed to be having some success, is what we heard. And I don't know if you guys heard from the director of the program. And
I talked to the director. But I don't think she.
I don't think she
didn't
came.
testify because it was all part of the AOK.
Say, we had the secretary come in to talk about the budget, all the budget. Yeah, yeah. But it seemed like there wasn't like a big pipeline or a big influx of requests to do this. So.
And no follow-up from the administration. We took it out that, oh my God, the sky is falling.
okay.
So, at the least, we cut it, keep 100,000 or something like that. Or at the most we take it all, but I think 220 is more than we need.
Okay.
So you can think about
We'll
that.
think about that.
And just sort of going down the list, the community radio, that was part of H.493 CoC.
Yeah.
I think
Didn't go well. But
it's in your GovOps.
there's-
Is that coming out?
I thought so, but I hadn't heard recently. I don't know if there's something else that, definitely not that. I did ask about this part. And there wasn't definitely an opposition from that committee on funding the community radios. I mean, in there, goes to public safety as a public safety program, basically, so that people can get emergency information through the radios in some rural areas with community radio stations exist. I also think just in our effort to promote local information and local journalism, it was a good idea to, there's a very small amount of money to support these kind of most volunteer run and very local grassroots organizations that are providing news information and emergency information.
By radio.
By radio.
So it's another new program. So that's a concern.
Or it's a new appropriation. I wouldn't call it a program.
It's a new appropriation.
Yeah, definitely.
And
We took it out of when the House passed their version of 397. We did not get any pushback at all from the committee.
Yeah.
They were fine
Right.
with the changes. We put in the money for the urban search and rescue that they requested.
And the fire
And the fire
apparatus.
apparatus, wherever that ends up
Yeah.
in the budget process.
Right.
And we took that out. There was something else we told the positions at, emergency management that they wanted to add. And they were totally fine with it, the
Right.
impression we got.
Right. Right, we did their high priority things, and that wasn't on there.
Good.
If you don't mind checking that, that would be good. You also added 500,000 to serve, learn, and earn, which I know is, there's so many great programs.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about what the future is holding here, and, you know, if we have Medicaid cuts and everything else. They have 500,000 in the budget already. So if we did nothing, we'd be level funding them.
So wasn't there one time last year?
We may have given them some one time,
I think
but, but they have money that's in the base, which is,
They do. I did check in with the executive director at Vermont Works for Women just to ask, okay, so what can you do with 500?
Yeah.
K, and it would, much of the program would be really used.
Right.
So,
Right.
and so
so just to think about.
yeah, no,
I was happy to know there was
Vermont Works for
some.
Women is dear to my heart.
I know.
You know, it's very painful to recommend. I just know that there are some appropriations where if you don't fund them enough, you just can't do
Right.
anything with it. And I don't know how important it is to, I mean, this is a bigger one, but there are many small ones where I fear that if we cut them,
Right.
that's it. And I would put something we both agreed about, the Human Rights Commission. If we don't do that, I think they have no way to do the work that we are expecting them to do, so.
And I don't know about that, but I did notice that we had money in base, so that's just something to think about.
Yeah,
I would not.
I'm just
been having-
laying it out.
I know, it's good.
It's good.
Well, I think their request was to increase their base overall, so.
This is one time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they
Right.
wanted to increase.
They
the-
wanted-
Right, well, everybody wants to increase the base, and once everybody learned about base, they all want to increase the base, so that is.
Similar answer I'm giving on a lot of emails I get on Meals on Wheels. We're not cutting the funding, we're keeping the base.
Mhm.
We just aren't increasing.
Yeah, and Meals on Wheels, we've got a spreadsheet about what's in the base. It's almost 2.4 million plus Medicaid. So it's one of our better funded food programs, unlike some of the others, but. So,
Okay, we'll consider that.
okay. And then, this is sort of jumping around. We noticed that you had put, more money, used more pilot money for other programs. So there was a decision to take $1 million of pilot money for municipal technical assistance program. I think we had all agreed on the $1 million for the municipal stabilization for the buybacks, help communities. So that was $1 million that came out of the pilot that made sense. And then there was another $1,150,000 that you did for something else. Like
That's transportation fund switch for the non-medical transport support.
that was only 600.
Yeah, the rest, which just goes into the non-federal emergency fund at the Agency of Transportation. That helps municipalities. So it stays kind of within the purpose of pilot to help
Yeah.
municipalities. Like if there's a microburst, it doesn't get to the level of FEMA, but they have a
Right.
culvert, a road's washed
Yeah.
out and they need
Yeah.
to get it opened immediately. That fund would be used,
Yeah.
AOT, to help open the road and help fix the culvert.
And we didn't put the million to transportation to do the mileage.
Right, because they said they didn't need it. Instead of giving it back to the general fund, you reused it in transportation.
Well,
We switched over to pilot.
it's not, if the grant hasn't been approved by the Fed yet. So it may be, it's one of those that we're still waiting to hear.
Right. So did you talk to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns about using all this pilot money?
They did testify Or they talked to us. I don't know if they actually sat in the witness chair on this, but yes.
And they were okay with using the pilot for all these things? No. I didn't think
They
so.
had concerns.
Yeah, so the MTAP program, our House Commerce Committee said we don't need money for that program. We don't need that program. We have other things that are being done. And so they recommended
Not to-
not using, we put nothing in. There was 3 million in the proposal the governor put in for one time. And they said, we don't need it
Oh.
at all. So we took it entirely out and did other things instead. So
Well, we heard from both from the league about that, they're having strong support for that program, which I didn't hear from them specifically on the pilot funds for that. Other things that we talked about using for it, they didn't quite like, had concerns, but they did tell us that they wanted to fund the municipal technical assistance.
yeah. Except our Commerce Committee didn't, so
Yeah.
and
Okay.
we can check with them on what but that was that's a place it feels like you could make a change there.
Municipal tech program is on it's at the top, I think near the top on the.
It is.
Oh,
It was, well, it was in the pilot, so it's not in the one time, it's in pilot fund, so it's in the all other
That's the
funds
next
one,
transfer.
right? It's in the all other funds. Where you have money that's in the tobacco fund, the drinking water and whatever.
But it is on, no, if you look at the one-time
It's a-
sheet on line 7.
Well, it's on line 3
On
on
that.
that one that has all the funds.
Yeah, that's a different one.
I know, we have lots of fun times. Yes, well, so you took it out of one time and you put it in the pilot.
Right. Because it's coming, but it should be on sheet because this has all funds on it. Yeah, it's on line 3 there.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the grant stabilization was the one that we all put in. So that one I didn't have a problem with. I'm just concerned that there hasn't been a larger conversation about how to use pilot.
Yeah.
And so starting to use it piecemeal, to me, is a little bit worrisome without having established some sort of a protocol or guidelines for how we're going to use the pilot fund. We did, in one of the bills, increase the amount that goes back to the communities, which everybody was happy about, from 70 to 75%.
The one, the bill that's in GovOps.
397,
Yeah, that also has the.
maybe in
the
there as well.
community radio thing.
But we haven't had the conversation about if there's excess money in the pilot after we pay 100% back, what should it be? How should it be used? So that's what worries me about doing it. Are we just sort of setting a precedent by using pilot funding now without having had that conversation? And then everybody wants.
pilot.
Huh?
You could think of those.
It's a pilot of a pilot. Must be near the end of the day. So anyway, and I can't remember what your other one, well, the other stuff in transportation that she did for the pilot, which is, again, we haven't had that conversation, so.
Did transportation conferees meeting soon?
Tomorrow right now.
All right, okay. Okay. Is there anything else we needed to bring up today? Or are we gonna,
Well,
kind of enough for today, or do you have something?
I'm wondering if, we can, sign off on the recommendations that the Senate made as it relates to housing. No,
I think we're gonna
talk about that.
We have a little more to talk about.
We will talk about that.
No.
Which housing?
Well,
There's a whole one,
So,
everything
we-
related to the bond bank.
Tiff
revolving
put
loan.
together this spreadsheet
Ah,
of the governor, the House, the Senate, other stuff, so maybe we can share that.
Oh, might share that with you.
We'll share that.
Yeah.
we like that.
So you can see what,
Give them the small print version.
yeah. I do still have one that came out on a little piece of paper.
I think it's a little bigger.
Yeah. I know, we're all, let's have the large
Put that for
font.
a printer
Right.
that, just big sheets for our room.
Right. So this is a way to just see it all in one
Yeah.
place, which is really helpful. Yeah, we like spreadsheets and
I
our.
know that was a concern. I don't know if we got the governor's letter to the
Yes.
video conference. I don't know if they mentioned in there, but before they had mentioned concern about funding for housing initiatives in general.
Right. Yeah. And so depending upon how you count the numbers, the House came out $2 million more than the governor, 2.7 million more, and you were 400,000 less than us, but we're counting a bill that he isn't counting, so.
Which
Anyway,
bill?
yeah, H91.
Yes, okay, yeah, we're working.
So the 10 million, right. But we fenced the money off. But
Right.
the thing I think about when I look at this is that, and I think we've generally, all of us have tried to do a good job with this, is we need lots of different kinds of housing. We don't need just one. And everybody has their favorite program and they want to put lots more money into that favorite program. But we need to go across the spectrum and have lots of different. And I think that's certainly what we tried to do from the House side. And I think, you did a lot of the same kinds of things that, to try to spread it out to make sure that we were covering lots of different kinds of housing. One of the things that we talked about, and I think we'll try to have a proposal for you, there's a lot of positions for different things at DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development. And maybe we just say, instead of one for this and one for that, maybe they don't need that many, but just say, here's 2 positions and X amount of dollars, you go figure out how you're going to make it work. So we'll have something for you
Kind of
about
like, I
that.
don't know if you have an opinion or want to tell us what it is on how we combine VHFA's 3 programs into kind of one
Yeah,
bundle. So we
Yeah.
can maybe do that for the other house program that stayed on,
yeah,
to include the positions in the money.
yeah. Or we leave the money separate and just
Yeah.
include the positions because I don't, no, I think that concept, we talked about trying to do that too for VHFA and just ran out of time. So I think that concept is something that
With several bills to get out the day we're supposed to get the
Right.
budget out.
six actually.
So that, having spoken probably with the same people that you have, about that, giving VHFA that flexibility and specifically naming the revolving loan fund, I think it makes sense, I think, to the chair of the General Housing Committee in the House, and made sense to me as well.
I think flexibility is important to get the money out the door, get the houses built or the units built. So, okay. So that's an hour.
Okay.
Is that enough for
Good.
today?
That's good work. Yeah. And we have several
Is that enough?
homework assignments
Yes,
and we'll have some grayed out.
we'll have some gray outs.
Few.
Give JFO something to do.
Yeah.
Brady's excited over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Gray highlighter.
Wait till the end of the week. So.
We're meeting tomorrow at 8:30.
8:30?
And then do you want to set it? There was some question about whether we had set enough meeting
Right.
times. That we might want to schedule more,
Yes,
but even if we cancel them, because we
Right.
don't need to.
I think that would be a very good idea.
There was a question how much the Senate Transportation Committee would be meeting.
Well, Senate Transportation's meeting at noon. Do we want to meet at your conference committee? I'm sorry. What time are you on the floor tomorrow?
9:30.
Okay, and do you have you're going to be on the floor forever? Can you pop out for 10 minutes or not really?
Really? Yeah.
So when else would you propose?
So what time, do we have a meeting scheduled at?
We have,
8:30.
we have 8:30 and 3:00.
3:00?
And on Wednesday, 8:30 and then 12, which I will probably miss.
Well, what if we met at 1:30 tomorrow?
We also have the secretary education.
Yeah, which we've already moved.
They were kind of stuck.
Well, we already did one, so.
So you're stuck until 2:30, did you say? Could we start?
We're
at
meeting,
2:30?
when we're meeting at 3.
Yeah.
We could start at 2:30. I don't know if that works for you, and then we meet again at 4. Maybe we do 2 quick check-ins tomorrow afternoon.
So you're saying instead of meeting at 3, meet at 2:30?
Meet at 2:30 and at 4. Just do short.
As well.
Yeah, we could do that. I think an hour and a half for the 2 bills. We do have an amendment, but it's already been drafted, but that should be quick.
Okay. Yeah, we have to hear a bill from 1 to 1:30 tomorrow.
I think we should be able to be here by 2:30,
Okay.
and then we could,
Meet for a little bit, go huddle, come back, meet at 4 or something like that.
yeah. So I'll just block off that whole
Okay.
2:30 to,
Elle will send us invites, then I'll change my calendar.
yeah, so maybe we could change it from 2:30 to 4:30, that whole block of time.
Yeah. And then how about on Wednesday morning?
We have it at 8:30.
We have it at 8:30 and then do
Start
we
at
want to
8.
meet again at, well, we could just, I don't know that starting earlier is going to help, but if we started at 8:30, but then met again at like 10:30?
No, I have committee meeting in the morning from 9 to 12.
Oh, that's why we ended up,
Yeah, that's why the funny schedule.
and then we're meeting at 12 is a,
Yep.
And we can't meet in the afternoon of Wednesday. So then Thursday, maybe,
days when we're trying to be done.
yeah, so maybe maybe we should schedule a noon meeting on Thursday as well as an afternoon meeting for Thursday.
Well, or maybe 11? When are you getting your bill out, Ginny?
I don't know. It depends on how much we work. I don't see it coming out before Friday.
Could you break at 11:30?
I can do that. I can leave my vice chair in charge. No problem.
We'll make it work for transportation. What's gonna cut into this is the conference committee.
Right. Scheduling that stuff. So it's 2 of us, right? Both
I know. How did you manage that?
supreme intelligence.
And we need you to close that out, right?
The T-bill before the budget. Yeah, that's the recommended.
Mhm.
So can you be done by Thursday morning?
Yeah.
Do you have that much
Capital
stuff?
bill, let's see,
So
we haven't met.
So I'm thinking that if anything changes in H91 to affect the budget's going to have to reflect that, otherwise there'll be.
Well,
Well, we didn't.
No, we didn't put any
Put the
language.
money in the budget.
No, we did.
We did.
We just put 10 million.
Got 10 million.
Yeah, but there's 10 million on the bottom line.
Right,
Yeah, so it's not
If-
like it,
unless you're gonna put more in, if you're gonna.
I'm not going to put more, I might shift some things around.
But we didn't say what it was to be used for. We just said 10 million.
Okay, well, I'm going to say what it's going to be used for.
that will be in your bill.
That can be in your bill.
Okay, well, and it may be less, and we may also be reaching out and affecting the 30 million that's in for GA. You have to remember that there's also a lot of money for GA that we would like to reduce the hotel motel program. So not leaving that out of the discussion as we look at H91.
So,
It won't
Is it-
change the amount.
pardon me?
It won't change the amount, but it may certainly change how it's being used.
Right.
It'll be different from
Yeah.
what's in the budget. So I suppose the budget passes and then this passes.
And that supersedes it.
Right.
It
Yep.
supersedes whatever the last bill is to pass. That's the one that counts for the language. So if 91 passes after the budget,
Mhm. Yeah,
So
it's not ideal, but it's
no,
works.
it's not. I mean, it's scary, actually.
So Thursday, 8:30, 11:30, and another time in the afternoon.
I hope we can be done by then, because
Okay,
aren't we trying to be done on Thursday? So these
Yeah.
guys, so we could actually sign.
so we might have to stick around in the afternoon to sign,
Yeah,
unless we can sign.
and we have an event on Thursday night.
That's right.
Could you too?
So we're sticking around anyway. We could sign at the event.
Yeah.
Might be
We
a,
could do a skit.
Yeah.
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 We can pretend it's a skit and then it's the real thing.
So like Thursday, we're meeting at 8:30 and
11:30.
11:30?
And then
Okay,
maybe needing time in the afternoon to sign and shake hands.
right. And we can always call other meetings as we go if we need to.
Right.
It's correct that we're not meeting Wednesday evening. Afternoon.
Yeah, we don't have all conferees on Wednesday afternoon.
Right.
that's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.